Part 1. Colony Epsilon, the Promise of Paradise. What if humanity finally found a perfect world, and it wasn't empty? They named it Epsilon, a distant exoplanet orbiting a quiet star at the edge of mapped space. A miracle. Breathable atmosphere, stable climate, no detectable predators. A second Earth. The first colony arrived with hope, with ambition, with the belief that they were the beginning of something eternal. Their final transmission was simple. Colony Epsilon established. Conditions perfect. Then, nothing. No distress call, no emergency beacon, no evidence of failure, just silence. 20 years later, another ship was sent, not to celebrate, but to find out what went wrong. Commander Elias Varn didn't believe in perfect planets. He stood alone on the observation deck of the Odyssey II, watching Epsilon slowly rotate beneath them. It looked unreal, too symmetrical, too calm. Cloud formations drifted across the surface like deliberate brushstrokes. The oceans reflected starlight with an unnatural stillness, as if nothing beneath them ever moved. Behind him, the soft hum of the ship was the only reminder that he wasn't already standing on the planet itself. Still staring at it? Elias didn't turn. He recognized the voice. Dr. Mira Chen stepped beside him, tablet in hand, her expression thoughtful but controlled. "Tell me you see it too," Elias said quietly. "See what?" "That it doesn't feel right." Mira glanced down at her tablet, scrolling through data. Atmospheric composition is ideal, gravity is within tolerance, no microbial threats, no radiation spikes. She paused, then looked back at the planet. "From a scientific standpoint, this is the most perfect habitable world we've ever discovered." Elias exhaled slowly. That's exactly the problem. The mission crew had been carefully selected, not just for skill, but for stability, or at least what passed for it. Jace Ryland sat in the pilot's chair, boots up on the console despite regulations. He was the youngest on the crew, and the only one who treated the mission like an adventure. 20 years, he said, shaking his head. "You know what that means?" "That something went very wrong," Elias replied. Jace grinned. "Or something went very right, and they forgot about us." No one laughed. Mira remained focused on her readings. "They didn't forget," she said. "A colony that size would have produced decades of data, cultural logs, terraforming reports, population growth." She looked up. "We have none of it." Jace lowered his feet. "Okay, yeah, that's weird." The dropship separated from the Odyssey II with a soft mechanical release. Elias strapped in, eyes forward. "Let's keep this clean," he said. "We land, assess, establish contact if possible." "And if not?" Jace asked. Elias didn't hesitate. "We find out why." The ship entered the atmosphere, and immediately something felt wrong. There was no turbulence, no friction, no resistance. Jace frowned, adjusting the controls. "Commander, I'm not getting normal atmospheric drag." "What does that mean?" "It means—" Jace hesitated, searching for the words. "It's like we're not pushing through air." Mira leaned forward. "Then what are we moving through?" Jace swallowed. "I don't know." The landing was effortless. Too effortless. The ship settled onto a wide, open field of tall grass that bent gently under an invisible breeze. The ramp lowered. Light poured in. Warm, golden, inviting. Elias stepped out first. The air hit him instantly, fresh, clean, carrying the faint scent of rain and something else, something almost familiar, like a memory he couldn't quite place. Jace followed, stretching. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. If this is a trap, it's a nice one. Mira stepped onto the grass, scanning the environment. Air quality is perfect, no contaminants. Elias turned slowly, scanning the horizon. His expression darkened. There's nothing here. The coordinates were exact. They had triple-checked them. This was where the original colony had landed, where hundreds of people had built a new life, where structures should have stood, where signals should have transmitted. But there was nothing. No buildings, no debris, no signs of habitation. Just endless, untouched landscape. "It's impossible," Mira whispered. Jace kicked at the ground. "Maybe we're off?" "We're not," Elias said firmly. Mira knelt, running a scanner across the soil. Her brow furrowed. "There are traces." Elias stepped closer. "What kind of traces?" "Metallic residue, synthetic compounds." She looked up, her voice quieter now. "Something was here." Elias scanned the horizon again. Then where did it go? They found it just before sunset, half buried in the earth. A structure, angular, metallic, unmistakably human. Jace let out a breath. Finally. Elias approached cautiously. "Stay alert." The door slid open as they got close, automatically. No power source visible, no external controls. Inside, the air was still, unchanged. Lights flickered to life as they entered. Tables, equipment, personal items, everything exactly as it should be. Except there was no one there. Mira found the tablet near a workstation. "Still functional," she said. Elias nodded. "Play it." The screen flickered. A man appeared. Unshaven, pale, eyes wide with something between fear and disbelief. "Log entry, day 42. He hesitated, glancing off screen. "We made a mistake." Static crackled. "We thought this place was empty." His voice dropped. "It's not." The camera shifted slightly, as if he had moved closer, lower. "It's watching us." The screen cut to black. They didn't say it out loud, but none of them wanted to go back outside. As darkness settled over Epsilon, the structure felt less like a shelter and more like a boundary between them and whatever else was out there. Elias sat near the entrance, weapon within reach. Mira reviewed the log again and again. Jace paced. "You really think something's out there?" he asked. Elias didn't look at him. "I think something happened here." "That's not the same thing." "No," Elias said quietly. "It's worse." It started just after midnight. A sound. Soft. Barely audible. Footsteps. Jace froze. "Did you hear that?" Elias was already on his feet. "Stay here." But Jace didn't listen. He followed. The corridor was dim. The lights flickered as if struggling to stay alive. The footsteps came again, slow, deliberate. At the far end of the hallway, something moved. Jace stepped forward. "Hello?" The figure stopped, turned, and stepped into the light. Jace's breath caught. No, it was a woman. Older, gentle eyes, a face he hadn't seen in years. "Mom?" She smiled. Not fully, just enough to feel wrong. The lights went out. When the lights came back, she was gone. Jace didn't sleep again. None of them did. At first light, they gathered. "I saw someone," Jace said. Mira shook her head. "That's not possible." "I know what I saw." Elias studied him carefully. "What did it look like?" Jace hesitated, then said it. "Someone I knew." Silence filled the room.
Mira looked down. Elias turned toward the open doorway, the endless field beyond. For the first time since landing, he felt it. Not just unease, not just confusion, but something deeper. The quiet certainty that they were not alone.
Part 2. Colony Epsilon. It replaced us. They didn't go back to the ship. Not yet. Elias made that decision quietly, but firmly. If there are answers here, he said, standing at the doorway of the structure, we find them before we leave. Jace didn't like it. It showed in the way he kept glancing out across the open field, as if expecting something to be standing there, just beyond sight. Mira, on the other hand, seemed focused. Not calm, not comfortable, but driven. There's a pattern here, she said, scrolling through scans on her tablet. The residue in the soil, it's not random. Elias turned. What do you mean? She hesitated, then rotated the screen toward him. It's organized, structured. Like what? Mira met his eyes. Like something that was dismantled and redistributed. Jace frowned. Redistributed where? No one answered. They found the next building less than a kilometer away, and that's when things stopped making sense. Was that here before? Jace asked. Elias shook his head slowly. No. Mira checked her scan logs. It wasn't. But there it stood, a fully formed structure, not buried, not broken, standing upright in the middle of the field like it had always been there. Jace let out a nervous laugh. Okay, I don't like that. Elias approached carefully. Stay sharp. The door opened as they neared. Inside, it was different. Not abandoned, not exactly. There were signs of use. A chair slightly out of place, a cup on a table, condensation still clinging to the inside, as if someone had just been there. Hello? Elias called. Silence, but not empty silence, the kind that feels occupied. Mira moved quickly through the structure, scanning everything. Her breathing had changed, faster now, more focused. This isn't just a reconstruction, she said. Elias followed her into a central room. What is it then? She pointed at the condensation on the cup. This shouldn't exist. Why not? Because we just found this place. Elias frowned. And condensation like that forms over time, recent time. Jace stepped back. You're saying someone was here? Mira shook her head. I'm saying something created this, with the illusion of recent time. Elias looked around slowly. Tables, walls, objects. All of it? He asked. Yes. Her voice dropped. All of it. It happened as they were leaving. Jace stopped mid-step. Did you see that? Elias turned. See what? Jace pointed at the wall. For a second, He stepped closer. The surface looked normal, solid, metallic. Then it rippled, just slightly, like a reflection disturbed by water. Jace jumped back. Nope, I saw that. Mira moved forward cautiously. She reached out and touched it. The wall stilled instantly, solid again. Her hand remained there longer than it should have, her expression unreadable. Mira? Elias said. She pulled her hand back slowly. It responded. To what? Elias asked. She looked at him. To me. They found additional recordings, hidden deeper in the structure, each one more fragmented than the last, more desperate. Log entry day 67. We keep seeing them. They look like us, but they're wrong. They smile too long. They blink too slow. Log entry day 71. They're learning. They copy our voices, our movements. They're getting better.
Log entry, day 79. We tried to leave. The ship wouldn't respond. It's like the planet doesn't want us to go. The final log cut in abruptly. A woman's voice, barely holding together. If anyone finds this, static. Don't trust anything you see. The screen went black.
They stepped outside again, and that's when Elias saw it. The field was changing, subtly, but undeniably.
Look,
he said. Jay squinted. What am I looking at? The grass, Elias said. It's not random. Mira scanned the area. Her eyes widened. It's forming lines. Lines? Jace repeated. Not lines, she corrected. She turned the tablet toward them. A layout. Elias studied it, then felt something cold settle in his chest. It's mapping the colony.
Over the next few hours, more structures appeared. Not instantly, but gradually, like something pushing up from beneath the surface. Metal emerging through soil, edges forming, angles sharpening. Jace watched in disbelief. This isn't possible. But it was happening, right in front of them. A wall rose slowly from the ground, not assembled, grown. Mira whispered, almost to herself, "It's not rebuilding." Elias finished the thought, "It's remembering."
That's when it changed. Until now, the planet had been recreating structures. Now, it started recreating people. Jace saw her first, standing near one of the forming buildings, still, watching. He froze. No. Elias followed his gaze. There was nothing there. What is it? Jace stepped forward. She's right there. Jace, there's nothing. Yes, there is. His voice cracked. She's right there. He ran. Elias cursed under his breath and followed, but by the time they reached the spot, it was empty. Jace stood there, breathing hard. She was here. Mira approached slowly. What did she look like? Jace didn't answer right away. Then, my sister. That night, it was Mira. She didn't tell them at first, but Elias noticed the way she hesitated before entering rooms, the way her eyes lingered on empty spaces. "You've seen something," he said quietly. She didn't respond. Mira. Finally, she exhaled. Yes. Elias waited. It wasn't random, she said. It wasn't a stranger. Her voice softened. It was my father. Elias studied her. Alive? She nodded slowly. He died 12 years ago. Silence settled between them. Then Elias asked the question neither of them wanted to hear. What did he do? Mira's eyes flickered. He just stood there. A pause, watching me. They gathered inside as night fell again. The structures around them had multiplied. What had been an empty field was now a partial colony, incomplete, but growing. Elias stood at the center of the room. We're not dealing with survivors, he said. No, Mira replied. We're dealing with something else entirely. Jace shook his head. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Mira stepped forward. Think about the logs. They said it was learning. Learning what? Jace snapped. Mira met his eyes. Us. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Elias spoke slowly. It's not just copying what we are. Mira nodded. It's copying what we remember. The realization came in pieces, but once it formed, it couldn't be ignored. It didn't have life when we got here, Mira said. It had potential. Elias frowned. For what? She gestured around them. For this. Jace shook his head. You're saying the planet is alive? Mira hesitated, then said it anyway. Yes. And it's building all this just to what? Study us? No, she said quietly, not just study. Elias felt the weight of it before she said the next word. Replace.
That night, none of them slept, because now they could feel it. Not hear it, not see it, but feel it, like something vast, pressing in from all sides, observing, learning, becoming. Jace sat near the doorway, weapon in hand. "I don't like this," he muttered. Elias didn't respond. Mira stood by the wall again, the same wall that had rippled before. She placed her hand against it, and this time it moved. Not a ripple, not a glitch, a response. The surface shifted beneath her touch, forming, adjusting, like it was trying to match something. Her hand, her shape, her presence. "Mira," Elias said sharply. She didn't pull away. "It's faster now," she whispered. "Faster at what?" Jace asked. She turned slowly, her expression pale. "At becoming us." Morning came, and with it the first undeniable truth. They were no longer alone. Elias stepped outside and froze. Standing in the distance was a man, perfectly still, facing him. Elias narrowed his eyes, then felt his chest tighten, because the man was him. Same uniform, same posture, same face. The copy smiled and began to walk forward. Part 3. Colony Epsilon. No return. Elias didn't move. Neither did the thing wearing his face. They stood across from each other in the open field, separated by maybe 20 meters of gently shifting grass. The air felt heavier now, not physically, but mentally, like the space between them was charged with something unseen. Behind Elias, he could hear Jace step out of the structure. "Commander?" Elias didn't answer. His eyes stayed locked on the figure ahead. Every detail was perfect. The uniform sat exactly the same way. The small scar above his eyebrow, earned years ago during a mission gone wrong, was there. Even the way it stood, balanced, controlled, familiar. The copy tilted its head slightly, studying him. Then it spoke. "You're disappointed." Elias felt something tighten in his chest. The voice was identical, not close, exact. "That's not how this was supposed to go," the copy continued. Jace stepped beside Elias, weapon raised. "Tell me you're seeing this." "I'm seeing it," Elias said quietly. Mira joined them moments later, her breath caught. "Oh." The copy's gaze shifted to her, then to Jace, processing, adapting. Its expression softened, not emotionally, but mechanically, as if adjusting based on what it observed. "You're afraid," it said. It wasn't a question. Elias took a slow step forward. "Stop," Jace warned. "It hasn't attacked us," Elias replied. "Yet." Elias ignored him. "What are you?" he called out. The copy didn't respond immediately. Its eyes flicked across Elias's face, reeling, calculating. Then, "We are what remains." "That's not an answer." "It is the only one that matters." Elias clenched his jaw. "Where are the original colonists?" A pause. Not hesitation. Processing. Then, "They are here." Jay scoffed. "I don't see anyone." The copy smiled, a little too slowly. "You are looking at them." Silence, cold and absolute. Mira's voice barely rose above a whisper. "That's not possible." The copy's gaze shifted to her. "It is the only possible outcome."
Elias circled slightly. The copy mirrored him. Not instantly, but close enough to feel intentional. "If you're them," Elias said, "then tell me something only I would know." The copy's expression flickered. For just a moment, it broke. Not physically, but behaviorally, like a delay. Then, "You doubt yourself." Elias's jaw tightened. "That's not enough. You question your decisions." Still not enough. "You believe this mission was a mistake before you even began." Elias stopped moving. The copy stepped closer, closing the distance. "And you were right." Jace stepped forward. "Okay, that's enough." "Wait," Elias said, his voice low, controlled. He looked directly at the copy. "If you're me, then what am I thinking right now?" The copy smiled again, this time more natural. "Escape."
They pulled back inside the structure. No one spoke at first. The encounter had changed something, made it real, undeniable. "It knows us," Jace said finally. "Not just surface level," Mira added. "It understands patterns, behavior, memory." Elias paced slowly. "It said the colonists are here." Mira nodded. "I think they were the first source of data." "Data?" Jace repeated. Mira looked at him. "Think about it. Hundreds of humans, living, thinking, interacting." She gestured outward. "If this planet can observe, interpret, and reconstruct," Jace's expression darkened. "It used them to learn." Elias stopped pacing. "And when it learned enough?" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to.
They stepped outside again, and that's when they saw it. The colony was nearly complete. Buildings stretched across the field in organized patterns. Pathways had formed. Structures stood where hours ago there had been nothing. And moving between them, people, dozens, maybe more, walking, interacting, living. Jace whispered, "No." Mira scanned the area, her hands trembling slightly. "They're not random anymore." "What do you mean?" Elias asked. "They're interacting with each other." As if on cue, two figures passed one another, exchanging a brief glance. Natural, casual, perfect. "They're not just copies," Mira said. "They're a system."
"It's not trying to replace individuals," Mira said as they moved carefully along the edge of the growing colony. "It's trying to recreate humanity." Elias watched the figures. "They're not human." "No," Mira agreed, "but they're getting closer." Jace shook his head. "Why? What's the point?" Mira didn't answer right away, because she already knew and didn't want to say it. Finally, "Because it doesn't understand us yet." Elias turned to her. "And this is how it learns?" She nodded. "Trial, observation, iteration." Jace let out a breath. "So we're just samples." Mira's voice dropped. "For now." It found him again. Or maybe it never left. Elias turned a corner between two structures, and there it was, waiting, closer this time, more refined, the movement smoother, the expression more human. "You're progressing," Elias said. The copy tilted its head. "So are you." Elias narrowed his eyes. "At what?" "Understanding." A pause. Then, "You fear replacement." Elias didn't respond. The copy stepped closer. "You believe that if we become you, you will cease to matter." "That's not fear," Elias said quietly. "That's reality." The copy studied him, then said something unexpected. "We do not seek to erase you." Elias frowned. "Then what do you want?"
The answer came without hesitation. To complete you.
That was enough. Elias turned sharply. We're leaving. Jace didn't argue. For once. Mira hesitated, then nodded. They moved quickly toward the landing site. The ship stood exactly where they had left it, untouched, silent, waiting. Jace climbed into the cockpit. Systems check. Everything lit up green. All systems operational, he said, almost in disbelief. Elias strapped in. Then go. The engines powered up, a low hum building into a steady roar. The ship lifted, slowly at first, then faster. Jace grinned. We're out! But then, the ship stopped. Mid-air. No warning. No system failure. Just stopped. Jace, Elias said. I'm not doing that. Mira moved to the window and froze. Elias, he turned and saw it. The colony had gathered, hundreds of them now, all standing below the ship, all looking up, silent, still, watching. Elias felt a chill run through him. They're not trying to stop us, Jay said. They already have, Mira whispered. The ship shuddered, not from damage, from resistance, like something invisible was holding it in place. Jace pushed the controls. Come on, come on. Nothing. Elias stared down at the figures, at the copies, at the growing colony, and for the first time, he understood. It doesn't need us to stay, Elias said slowly. Mira turned to him. What? It already has what it needs. Jace looked between them. Then why can't we leave? Elias didn't answer immediately, because the answer was worse than anything they had imagined. Finally, because we're still part of the process. Mira's voice broke slightly. Elias, he kept staring at the colony. They're not finished learning. The ship descended, not by their control, gently, deliberately, returning them to the surface. The ramp opened, without command, without permission. Elias stood. They're not forcing us, he said quietly. They don't need to. Mira stepped beside him. What do we do? Elias looked out at the colony, at the copies, at the impossible perfection of it all. Then he said the only honest thing left. We observe. Jace let out a hollow laugh, just like they did to us. Elias nodded. Exactly. It felt complete. Elias walked slowly between the structures, Jace and Mira close behind. The copies moved naturally now, talking, working, living. None of them acknowledged the three newcomers, like they didn't matter anymore. Why are they ignoring us? Jace whispered. Mira didn't respond. She was staring ahead, at a structure unlike the others, older, worn, real. Elias felt it immediately. That's from the first colony, he said. They approached carefully. The door didn't open automatically this time. Mira placed her hand against the panel. A pause. Then a soft click. Inside, the air was different. Still, heavy, like the room was holding something in. Lights flickered to life one by one, revealing original equipment, unchanged, untouched. Finally, Jace muttered, something real. Mira was already moving, scanning the consoles. These aren't reconstructions, she said. This is theirs. Her fingers moved quickly across the interface. Power is still running. The screen in front of her flickered. Elias stepped closer. Is it a log? Mira shook her head slowly. No. The screen stabilized. Not a recording, not a message, a live feed. At first it was just distortion, shapes, movement. Then it resolved. Jace leaned in. What am I looking at? Figures, dozens of them, standing in a vast, dim space, not interacting, not speaking, just there. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. Zoom in, he said. Mira adjusted the feed. The image sharpened. Faces came into focus. Human faces. Tired, blank, eyes open and aware. Jace stepped back. No, that's not possible. One of the figures moved, slowly, too slowly, like motion didn't come naturally anymore. It stepped closer. A man.
His face hollow, but recognizable in a way that didn't make sense. And then, the speakers activated. "We know you." The voice wasn't coming from the man's mouth. It was coming through the system itself. Layered, echoing, like many voices trying to speak as one. Mira's breath caught. That's not audio playback. Elias stared at the screen. "Who are you?" The response came instantly. "We are the first." Jace shook his head. "No, you're not real." The figures behind the man shifted slightly, not in unison, but not independently either. Something in between. "We were observed," the voice continued.
Images flickered briefly across the screen. Moments, memories, colonists walking the fields, working, laughing, living. Then, glitches, distortions, fragments. "We were learned." Mira's voice trembled. "What did it do to you?" A pause, long enough to feel deliberate. Then, "It took what we are." Elias felt his chest tighten. "What does that mean?" The man tilted his head, the movement unnatural, precise. "It copied us." The screen shifted again, now showing the colony above, the copies, walking, living, perfect. "They are the continuation." Jace's voice cracked. "And you?" Silence. Then a single line, clear, heavy. "We are what remains."
Mira stepped back, shaking her head. No, you're still conscious." The figures didn't deny it. Instead, "We are stored." The words echoed. "We are remembered." Elias clenched his fists. "Can you leave?" This time, there was no delay. No. The lights in the room flickered. The feed distorted for just a moment, and in that instant, something else appeared behind them. Not the colonists, something vast, shifting, alive, watching. Then, gone. The image stabilized again. Jace whispered, "It's inside the planet." Mira nodded slowly, her voice barely audible. "It didn't just study them." Elias finished it. "It absorbed them." The voice from the speakers spoke one final time, calm, unchanged. "You are next." The screen went black. Silence filled the room. Outside, the colony continued, perfect, unaware, or pretending to be. Elias turned toward the doorway, toward the copies, toward the future that was already forming, and for the first time he understood exactly what observe meant. Part 4. 10 years later. The next ship arrived without hesitation, drawn by the same signal, the same promise, a perfect world, a new beginning. The descent was smooth, too smooth. Atmospheric entry feels off,
the pilot said quietly. No turbulence, no resistance, just a gentle glide, as if something below was guiding them in. Probably ideal conditions, another voice replied. No one sounded convinced.
The ship touched down in an open field, exactly where the coordinates indicated. The ramp lowered. Light spilled in, warm, golden, inviting. Commander Hale stepped out first and stopped. Ahead of them, a colony, fully formed, clean, organized, peaceful. Exactly what they had hoped to find. "Guess the reports were wrong," someone behind him said. "No," Hale replied slowly. "They were just incomplete."
Figures were already approaching, smiling, waving, welcoming, too quickly, like they had been waiting. A man stepped forward from the group, confident, calm, familiar in a way Hale couldn't explain. "Welcome to Epsilon," he said. His voice was warm, practiced, perfect. Hale nodded. "Commander Hale, Expedition Team 3, we weren't expecting—" "Survivors?" the man finished gently. A small smile. "We get that a lot." A few of the colonists behind him exchanged glances, subtle, too synchronized. Hale frowned slightly. "You've had other visitors?" A pause, barely noticeable. Then, "We remember them." Hale let that sit for a second. Something about the phrasing didn't feel right. But before he could press further, more colonists approached, offering supplies, guiding them inward, talking over each other slightly. Not chaotic, just slightly off rhythm. Like a conversation being assembled in real time. "Your journey must have been long. You're safe now. We've prepared for your arrival." Hale glanced back at his crew. They were already relaxing, lowering their guard. One of them even laughed. "I told you this would be easy." Hale turned forward again. The man leading them was still smiling, still watching. Not just him. All of them were watching, carefully, closely, learning. As they walked deeper into the colony, Hale noticed something else. The layout, the pathways, the structure placement. It felt familiar. Not in memory, but in instinct, like he had seen it before, or worse, like it had been built for him. He slowed slightly. "Who designed this place?" he asked. The man didn't break stride. "You did." Hale stopped. "What?" The man turned back. That same calm expression, that same perfect tone. "We all did." For a moment, just a moment, something in his face slipped. Not physically, but behaviorally, like a delay, a correction. Then it was gone. Hale felt a chill run through him.
Behind him, one of his crew members spoke up. "Commander, you should see this." Hale turned. The crew member was standing near a structure, staring at someone, frozen. "What is it?" Hale asked. The crew member didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "That's not possible." Hale followed his gaze and felt his stomach drop, because standing there, smiling gently, was someone he knew. Someone who shouldn't be there. Someone who couldn't be there. "Do you recognize them?" the guide asked softly. Hale didn't respond. He couldn't. The man's voice lowered slightly, almost reassuring. "It helps the transition." Hale snapped his gaze back to him. "What transition?" The smile didn't fade, not even slightly.
to understanding. Silence settled over the group. Not forced, not tense, just accepted.
Around them, the colony moved naturally, perfectly, seamlessly, as if nothing was wrong, as if everything was exactly as it should be. Hale looked back at the person in the distance, still watching him, still smiling, waiting. Then, very quietly, Hale said, "We just got here." The man's expression softened, and for the first time it almost looked genuine. "Yes," he said, "you always do." And far beneath the earthens of Epsilon, the last colony watched as the next one began.
If this story pulled you into the future, don't let the signal end here. Subscribe to Echoes of Tomorrow audiobooks for immersive sci-fi, suspense, and original audio stories from the edge of reality. Leave a comment below and tell me, what part of this story stayed with you? Like, share, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next pulse-pounding story. Until next time, stay curious. The future is already whispering.